He is very gracious to let me do movie reviews with him. And today we're going to review the 2020 horror comedy Freaky per request from our Vikings channel that we do, the Purple People podcast. Thomas Buge. I'm actually going to message him right now and tell him to code your stuff because hopefully he didn't think we were going to do that on the podcast for the Vikings page. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, you were kind of hesitant on this one. I watched it when it first came out, so I don't exactly have the freshest memory of what happened in this film, which is why I'm going to need you to kind of lead the way along. Mm-hmm. But that said, I do remember that there was some pretty cool stuff in it, and yeah, so this should be a fun one to talk about.
Have to say, the pictures that you pick for your green screen are always great. Adam usually picks something for or from the film, and it's great. It's funny because she was in a beaver costume there. Being the main character here, Catherine Newton as Millie. Yeah, I love them, man. You always pick really good ones for those. But yeah, so the thing that drew me to this movie was Vince Vaughn. Wedding Crashers is in my top 5 favorites ever. I absolutely adore that movie. I've seen a lot of his stuff. Old
his
school.
forays into horror haven't been fantastic, though.
Yeah. The thing that threw me off was I saw in the preview of him, which you can appreciate the comedy as him. If you guys, spoiler alert, we're going to do spoilers here. Him doing the cheer as Millie, as a 40-something-year-old man. And I was like, oh God, I'm either going to cringe at it or I'm going to love it. And instantly I was kind of like hesitant to see it. But Thomas came in and said, hey, look, we really want you guys to give a review of this. So
this was weird. It was like a horror take. I know that a lot of people point to Freaky Friday. Of course, that's what the title is a nod to. But it kind of just feels like a horror version of The Hot Chick. If you've ever seen that. Wow.
Unfortunately, I have. I'm trying to see winner. Critics' Choice Super Awards, Best Actor in a Horror Movie, Vince Vaughn, 2021. All right. That's really cool. I'm looking up. I'm on IMDb. Awards, 1 win, 16 nominations. I don't think this movie set out to be like a global phenom. I thought this was a cool departure from what he's usually from, with a little twist. Obviously, he's known for his comedies, but I kind of like him as a serial killer here, and I think that has a very Jason Voorhees-esque mask, which obviously I love the nod to that if that's what they were going for. I would like to see him be a little more serious and do like a drama with something like this, or a thriller. I would absolutely be there for that. But bringing me in for the comedy of this one, we'll discuss the plot and go. What's up, Thomas? Sorry, man. I was looking on IMDb. This is my favorite channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you have a request, let us know. I don't want to mess with your name out of respect. Out of respect, I don't want to mess your name up. You let me know if you want to type it out, how we'll say it, and we'll definitely give you a shout out. I used to ask some of my friends overseas that, and then I would meet in other countries, and they were gracious enough to American explain it to me. It was really good.
Yeah, so this movie, it was one that I was excited to watch right away because, as I've said on the show before, anytime there's new horror that comes out, whether it's mainstream or just something a little bit awkward, I kind of got to take a little bit of an extra look at it and see if I think that it would be worthwhile. But this time, I just saw a movie that blends horror and comedy, and I'm a big fan of horror and comedy. Those two go together so well. When you can have movies like Tucker and Dale or, Shaun of the Dead, those kind of horror comedies that are just fantastic. And I've enjoyed nearly every one that I've seen, so it's hard to go wrong with a horror comedy for me.
I like traditional slashers. I guess I'm thinking of it on the fly here of what my favorites are. I like actually being scared. Fun fact, when I take melatonin for my sleep aid, I always have nightmares, and I took it last night and I dreamt that Michael Myers was stalking me. So that was terrifying.
Oh boy.
But it was very intense. But I appreciate the nods in those slashers of the one little, zoom in, everything stops, and there's a one-liner. It was tough for me to get around. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't enjoy this as much as I wanted to, but I tried to take Adam's advice here. I tried to take his advice of don't expect anything. Just come in with an open mind and just let it be what it is. So With that said, I didn't hate it.
No.
The plot here is a young teenage girl and a middle-aged man who is a serial killer swap bodies, and they have a 24-hour countdown to swap back. Serial killer is going around killing people around homecoming in this small town, and he's chasing her down and tries up stabbing her in the I think the left shoulder. They swap bodies, so that's where you get the nod to Freaky Friday, or what'd you say the other movie was? Hot Girl,
The hot chick.
the hot chick. Yeah. I like some of the elements here. There was a definite, like I mentioned before, like a Jason Voorhees-esque mask, which I really loved. I really like seeing a darker side of Vince Vaughn, even if it was only just like scratching the surface. And I like some of the kills in this movie. They were actually really awesome.
Yeah, there were some fun kills. Vince Vaughn, he's got that slasher look down. And I don't know how many movies he watched to prepare for that, but whatever it was, he did a good job because at points he was a very believable killer, and they went forth and they gave him his own like cool little killer hideout and gave him his character some personality, whether it was through a little bit of backstory or through his development as the new killer. So yeah, I thought this was super well presented for a concept that is very flimsy.
That's well put. Not the most stable concept, but if there's somebody that can go back and forth, especially for the other side of this, to try to be funny, it is him. I'm not going to lie. I was very uncomfortable watching Vince Vaughn try to be like a 17-year-old girl. But when you break it down and get away from that, just look at how ridiculous it is. It was pretty funny. I like that they hinted too. And if you've been a fan of horror, you know this, and you know this way better than I do, Adam. If you look at horror movies back in the day, there's always cliches like if you're African American, you're getting killed soon. If you have sex, you're getting killed in there pretty early, or you're going to get killed definitely. Girls by themselves, main targets here. And I love the fact that the two supporting characters for Millie noted that out. He's like, I'm gay, you're black, we're done. That made me laugh so hard. I was like, you know what? If they can verbalize those little things that you had to pick up on from the 80s, that's pretty funny. I appreciated that part.
Now, with that mentioned, the supporting cast was really good. I thought her friends were fun and entertaining. The mom did a good job of doing mom things, and I enjoyed all that dialogue when they went to the house, and the mom was kind of like trying to be like, "What's going on here?" That whole scene was amazing.
I think the only thing that I didn't like, but I appreciated the hell out of the effort there, was Catherine Newton, Millie, the main character, trying to play the role of a killer. I didn't really believe it at first, especially like the walking around like Frankenstein. I didn't like that as much as the fan watching this movie. But as the movie progressed, she got more hip. She got more attractive around her friends. She fit that role of like, okay, this is the change I was going for. So it was a slow build into developing that dark side of her. But once she got it down, it was very believable. And I loved how realistic a lot of this movie is, right? If this really were to happen in real life and you're swapping, you're like, holy crap, I'm a 17-year-old girl in a 40-year-old man's body who's identifiable as a murderer. I got to hide. And I love the fact that they did a nod to that. And on the flip side, I really like that she owned when they met in the hallway in school. I was just like, oh my God, it's the butcher. I appreciated that little scene so much, because like, hey, that's a nod to reality, because you know as well as I do, Adam and Thomas, if you watch these, a lot of horror movies, it's like, that's not going to happen. But that's a really smart move on both their parts. I really enjoyed that.
I know I talk about this in every one of our movie reviews, but I got to mention it again. If you watch this movie, being a horror fan, and knowing the way they set everything up using the color red, it's amazing. Because not only are some of the killing locations red, but once the bodies swap and the killer gets the red jacket and everything,
it's so good.
It follows so many cool horror movie tropes that you're watching this and you feel smarter for watching it as a hardcore horror fan. But I think casual fans can still watch it and enjoy the lighthearted comedy of it to go with some of the really cool kills.
Of all the movie reviews we've done so far, that explanation of this specific part and the overall totality of this movie, I don't think you've nailed anything out of the park for a casual like myself than what you just said. There's little things that you pick up on in this movie, and it's the thing that brought it back for me not liking the sort of the cheesiness. This movie is pretty cheesy, but it's designed to be that way. Have to piggyback on what you said for the supporting cast. The mother, who's got a drinking problem, great cast in there. The kind of dorky cop sister, cool. And if you look at it, it's a nod to a strong female cast in here too. I like the fact at the end of the movie when they actually killed Vince for real, there was the three of them teaming up together, which was really fun. But yeah, shout out to the all girls taking over in a horror comedy and kicking ass at the end. But yeah, even the supporting characters, and when you get into any horror movie that deals with teenagers, they fit these cliches. I mean, to a T. The douchey jocks at school. She was a nerd. She's got the odd friends. And even the teacher, there's always a jerk or an asshole teacher, and they cast him perfectly too.
It was kind of like a she's all that moment, but not until the bodies got swapped. And then Vince Vaughn's character took over the girl's body. And then she was using sexuality to draw people in. And it was like, this was a weapon that he never had as a killer. He stayed in that creepy room with all that stuff going on. And it was just not a good thing. And now he's got more tools to use as a killer. He might not have the big bodied frame and, the strength and all that anymore. But those other tools he's got, he learned and adapted to use those very well.
I liked it. It was the reality I'm telling you about. They mention and verbalize for the casuals like myself. They're like, man, his body sucks. I'm 135 pounds soaking wet now. So he doesn't have the velocity and the power and strength that he had because Vince Vaughn's a tall guy. I mean, he's like 6'4", big dude.
When you watch movies, you don't really realize that though. He doesn't seem as big and tall and huge. I don't know how that doesn't come through in other films, but it does. In this one,
of Wedding Crashers, it's like, how tall are you? It's like, I'm 6'4", but I feel 4 feet. That's such a shitty pickup line. It's so funny. But yeah, he's a big dude. I love the fact that that's a good call on you too, like using the weapon of being in a new physical form. I love the fact that when he's in her body, he's whispering to the jocks like, I can't wait to kill you later. And typical dumb kids, like dumb young men are like just trying to score. They're basically like Beavis and Butthead in real life. They're like, oh, that's hot. And I'm like, you're going to get murdered, man. You're one of the douchey jocks. You're going to die. I really like that. Let's talk about some of these kills though. Oh my God. It started out with some really good ones. A spear with somebody stuck up on the wall. Saw that.
Those are always nice.
Halloween's. That was really cool. Obviously the shop incident where she sawed him in half, that was pretty sweet. I also appreciate a good I don't know, I see this in a couple movies, but also appreciate a good screwdriver or hammer to the neck. It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, those can be nice, especially if you get that nice big squirt of blood.
Hold on, Thomas. Viper says best part say, should I wipe? Yeah, that's the comedy part of it. When I got past the like, this is kind of cheesy, it made me laugh really hard because I'm like folding clothes. You can see in the corner up here. I'm folding clothes in my room and I'm watching this and he's in the bathroom like shaking his penis around and just smacking his legs. I'm like, of course, if you're a 13-year-old or whatever year old girl and you're in a man's body, we've all seen the memes on the internet about that. It's especially like the elephant trunk is like if women were men for a day and it's swinging around.
Oh yeah.
I was dying laughing at that. That's a good point. Thomas asks, what did you think of the ending with him coming back to the house? It was a good build up.
I don't know if it'll lead to a sequel. I don't know how successful this film was financially. Like I admit, I didn't really check, but I felt like it got a good reception and quite a few people watched it. So there might be a possibility of a sequel.
Maybe so. Yeah, I thought for sure when I was. What's that?
I'd check out a sequel.
You know what? It's not my cup of tea, but I would. Strictly for Vince Vaughn. I love it. And I keep forgetting her name. Catherine Newton. Shout out to her. I'm seeing her in a couple of things, and the older she gets better and carrying a larger role and load in movies. So she's doing a great job too. Yeah, coming back at the end, I thought he was done. I mean, he got shot quite a few times, but I like the dramatic effect, and it wouldn't have led to the the womanly trio that took him down at the end. And I love the buildup. You knew he was going to be in the house. You knew she was going off alone. And I'm in the back of my mind, I don't even say it out loud anymore. It's like, don't go investigate. You know he's going to be in there. Just wait for him to come in the room. Be ready. The military cop in me forever is shouting at the TV when that's happening. I'm like, how do you not know you don't have rounds in your gun? Come on. I was trying to get that out of the way, but yeah, it was a pretty sick kill at the end too. The spear through the back all the way through. That was pretty awesome. Big fan of that.
Like I said, I haven't watched this in a while, but I still have a lot of that scene from the arcade kind of laser tag, whatever place. I've got a lot of that stuck in my head, and that scene is a little bit memorable because it is creepy the way that guys go after women and how easily that women could be able to turn that around and just absolutely destroy guys. And I guess from a single guy who's older and has never had a child, that it's hard to imagine people acting that way.
Yeah, that's a good point, showing the predatory nature, especially at the party. By the way, that's something I'm glad you brought up. We'll go back to the arcade in just a second. I like how in a matter of hours they set up an entire abandoned mill to be a club. That's where they said they were going to throw it. I'm like, that's where the old white guy in me, the 40-year-old man who's an accountant his whole life, goes, that took a lot more planning and execution. That's not possible here.
Right.
It was so funny. I thought that. And I was like, God, you're getting old saying this stuff. Yeah, the arcade, the predatory nature of the jocks going after the girl, that was really, really it was kind of annoying because it's something that's not mentioned a lot. I'm glad they put a nod to that, and I'm glad she got revenge. Also, the teenagers doing it in the beginning, I thought that was one of the funniest lines I've ever heard in my life. She finishes, the guy does not. It's like, yeah, it's a vagina. It's not a all-night drive-through or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, I've never heard it called that before. There's some good comedy in this movie. It's really funny.
Yeah, like I said, it blended those good kills with some good acting and some laughs. I mean, honestly, I don't know how many times I'd watch this movie. I'd say I'll probably rewatch it. I'd rewatch it once, maybe if somebody said, hey, let's check it out. But I don't know if it's would be one of my favorite movies going forward or anything like that. But honestly, I had a good time watching it, especially since I got to pick apart some of the smaller things when I was watching it, even though it was a while ago, with the color scheme and with the nods to other movies. Because, boy, they definitely laid in pretty heavy with the Jason Voorhees stuff.
Yeah, they did. You know, it's good when a casual like myself picks that up.
Friday the 13th. I love that stuff. So to see the
my favorite
made me smile.
It's my favorite. I'm going to go through and rewatch all of those here soon, just because I haven't seen them in years. I think I watched the remake of the 09 the most recently, which was really cool. But you got to go back to the original slashers, man. They're so good.
Yeah, I don't want to see Jason scurrying through a tunnel like a rodent. I don't want to see that.
I didn't like that element too. I like the fact that he still stayed there, but turning him into a mountain man who's got secret distilleries under the hills. That was kind of weird. Thomas, man,
leave that mystery stuff. That we don't want you to know all that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thomas, we did this for you, buddy. I need to know some things that you liked about this movie. And I just want to know why you picked this. This is a random choice if I had to take a stab at it, but I'm glad that you gave us something. This put me out of my comfort zone, and Adam can tell you, I was like, I'm not going to see that. And here I am today. I just watched it. So,
well, this is a new release to DVD, I believe. I believe it just came out on DVD and digital.
Yeah, you can't rent it until next year. So I had to finagle with my special website to watch that. I was not paying $15 for this movie. So I had to do it another way. That's funny. Yeah, Thomas is awesome. He's a local on our and a regular on our Purple People podcast page, and you know, we don't have a big following on here just yet, but we're going to take requests. We might have to hit up what Paul Gruber was asking for too, because I know he tagged us in something on Facebook a while back, so we might have to take requests from him.
That was a classic, though. I mean, that was several years ago on that one. We're reaching back a little bit to 2020 on this one, but
yeah,
I mean, for the most part, we try to stick to really accessible new releases on streaming.
I have a question about that.
We make
Well,
exceptions.
we filibuster for Thomas here to see if he's watching still, if he can give us an answer and comment here. I saw the movie Antlers this weekend. I told you guys in the chat I was going to go see that. Was this postponed because of COVID and re-released, or did my movie theater here just show it for Halloween for some weird reason?
I have no idea.
That movie? I'm going to see.
I've seen a preview, but other than that, no.
That's 2021 film. I want to know if they. I remember seeing a short for this. Oh my god! Like years ago. I feel like 2 years ago, and then COVID happened, and I feel like they're just now releasing it. It's crazy. Maybe I could talk Adam into doing that. I didn't hate it. There's a crazy, and it's got Carrie Russell in it, which I loved her growing up, especially in our age group growing up. You got to love Carrie Russell. Ooh, see, there it is. Antlers got delayed twice. If you know the scoop on that, let me know.
And you got your answer up above there.
I just saw it like the week before. It was a fun one. I'm glad you dug it. I really like Vince Vaughn acting chops. Yeah, I love the guy. I love all his stuff, and I give it a shot. So I'm glad I gave this one, because I definitely turned this one down at first glance.
Yeah, because his work in Psycho really turned me off from anything horror. That was not a very good movie for him.
I'll have to give it a whirl.
So when horror rolled around, I was just looking at it and I was saying, I don't know if I want to see him doing more horror. But this was more slasher silly than it was psychological horror. So yeah, I might skip another psychological horror movie that comes out if it's Vince Vaughn. But the silly slasher stuff, yeah, okay, I'll check that out.
Keeping on the Vince Vaughn train, we won't review this movie on this channel because it's not a horror, but they did give a green light for Wedding Crashers Part 2, and I know it's going to disappoint the life out of me, but I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah, you know what movie I was really excited about as a sequel?
What's that?
Zoolander 2.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
You know what I watched and hated? Zoolander 2.
I'm not going to have my hopes up for the second Wedding Crashers. I know that. Tucker, Dale versus Evil is great. I've seen that.
It's so good. I've watched that many, many times.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Shaun of the Dead,
been a long time.
Dog. The horror genre is so good for being able to mix comedy in, because it lifts your spirits up so high, and then the kills just kind of like pull you back down, and you get lifted back up with more funny. And it's so good when a good horror comedy movie can come along and make you feel so wonderful.
I'm so behind on all of these. I'm going to have to add these to my list. The only horror comedy I know of off the top of my head of recent years, Zombieland. And I enjoyed it. I figured you would too, being in the zombie category. Both of those were pretty solid. Anytime you can get a Bill Murray in a horror movie, I'm down with it. It's so good. Oh, here we go. Maybe Adam would know more about this.
I have heard that they're working on some sort of iteration of a second Evil Dead following Ashley. And honestly, I really enjoyed the first Evil Dead remake or reboot. Well, I guess I'll call it. And I would be more than willing to watch anything Evil Dead that comes out, because I am a big fan of that. And I really enjoy that universe as a whole. I still do worry about the legacy of it, but so far they haven't tarnished the legacy of those films yet, so fingers crossed.
You guys have your alleys to go around. Like Adam does the zombie stuff. He likes slasher stuff. I know Thomas here, at least from the start. I don't know your whole background of what you love besides the Vikings in this movie, but it seems like you like horror comedies. I'm a big fan of the supernatural stuff. Those always draw me in. I don't know that I'll ever get Adam to do it, but I'm stuck on this movie from like 5 to 10 years ago called The Possession of Hannah Grace. It scared the shit out of me, and I love that as an adult because it takes a lot without melatonin, apparently.
Happy Death Day and the sequel both are very fun.
That was a suggestion when I looked this up. Happy Death Day to you. I haven't seen the first one, but I know the concept because I've seen the preview of these many times.
Well, I guess it's time to break this down. We've gone 25 minutes. I think that's enough to talk about this movie. We can now give our usual rating out of 10.
I'm going to leave my bias aside on this one because this is not what I usually go for, and it's not my cup of tea. I'm going to give this movie a 6.5. I liked it enough to where I'm not going to come out of here angry. I don't like the cheesiness of movies like this, but keeping with what you told me and what Thomas told me, said, hey, look, let's just go in and let it be what it is. I laughed. There were some good kills, and the cast here was what made this for me. So, and the
You
nods,
laughed, you cried, you touched yourself. No,
I
maybe you
lit,
didn't. I don't know.
I lived, I laughed, and I loved. Adam,
Oh
that's
no,
what
all
happened.
three. Let's see, 5.9, I guess, on some rating site. I enjoyed it more than a 5.9, just because of some of the cool kills, and I said some of the laughs. It wasn't an 8 or anything like that, but I'll go a 7.2 maybe.
I like that we can get down to the tenths of decimals now, much like Barstool and Stool Presidente does his pizza reviews. You got to have them down to the 10th. Those little tenths matter. Well, I'm glad that you like it, Thomas.
7 seemed right, but there was still enough in that movie where I felt it deserved that little extra. So,
Thomas, I came out of this happier more than I was disappointed. So I will say thank you. I'm a Vince Vaughn fan, and yeah, this is good for me being, the horror novice here, trying to open up and see the broad spectrum of all things horror. So I like a good kill, and I love the throwbacks and the nods to some of the great slasher movies here. So I didn't hate it.
No. Right at the moment, we don't have another movie lined up to watch yet. I watched Till Death, but I'm not going to recommend anyone else to do that. So I will not be recommending that as a movie for us to review.
I will pass on that one.
But there should be some more really good movies released soon. We'll take a look and see what we can find. Otherwise, feel free to shoot us over some suggestions. If they're recently released within maybe like the last year or two, maybe we'll take a look at it. Who knows?
Yeah, we gained momentum here, and I'm just speaking for Adam because this is his channel, and I'm not going to take over that. Is you got to do what's popular, and now we could do some blockbuster horror movies if this picks up some speed and you tell your friends about it, whatever. I would love to do that. Some of the classics maybe, but we're trying to stay in the here and now because it's trending and got to get those views. But we do this for our friends, and Thomas, hope you liked it, man. Really do.
I'm not familiar with the French Dispatch. I mean, I've seen a lot of really crazy horror movies, whether it's French, Korean, Japanese. I mean, there are some absolute just head-spinning movies out there that go places that you really don't think they should. And then there's the gore fests like Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that. And I don't know. To me, this genre is so wide that there's a lot that we have to discover along the way. And for now, we're kind of keeping it a little casual because so far, I believe that you have only really dove into a lot of the mainstream horror movies, right, Smith?
Yeah, there have been a couple that you guys have recommended that I watched. One we will never ever talk about again is a Serbian film that was crazy. I have seen Evil Dead up to your guys' recommendation, and a couple of my friends, Nashville, and then trying to get into. I don't want to call it the cult classics, but the underground ones that are popular. I'm trying to get into that because I love the directing there because it's not going to give you the typical Hollywood setup.
You mean like Reanimator and Eraserhead, stuff like that?
Yeah, some of the off-brand stuff, like we're talking gore here, but like Human Centipede, I watched all of those just because I thought it was crazy and weird. That going down that nasty sick side of stuff. I love all the Hostels. I guess I'm into gore too because I loved all the Hostel franchise movies. Yeah, just stuff like that. That's maybe not like, oh my god, it's like we just did Halloween Kills because Wes wanted to do it, and you love Halloween. That's a superstar franchise. I would like to do some of the stuff that's kind of on the B side. If this was a record, hey, I like the B side hits, and that's where I come to you guys because you know all about this stuff.
It is fun when you can check out a movie that you don't know much about and have a good time. Blood Red Sky, when we got to watch that and enjoy that, I was very happy that we found what was a gem and a movie that's actually being rumored to be getting a sequel.
Oh, that'll be cool.
So who knows? Like I said, I don't know if we're gonna get a sequel to Freaky, but who knows?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Thomas. Oh, that's rough.
But hey, thank you to both of you for joining us in the chat. We appreciate you hanging out and talking. We'll try to get something figured out as far as what movie we're gonna watch next, and hopefully find a way to spread that around.
We'll keep
you guys know.
We'll do some promoting on the Purple People podcast page too. We have a pretty good following there, so we can do little stuff at the end, or random days where we promote other stuff. I would also
I usually post it on my Twitter, but I forgot today.
That's all right. We had a good turnout anyways. This is a constant conversation. Thank you, Fur and Thomas. Thanks, buddy. You can talk about
and I see both of you are on YouTube. We're also live on my Twitch, which is a lot of fun. You can go there and you can interact and you can do some cool stuff. I don't have my Twitch dashboard up, so if you were redeeming stuff like drinks of water and stuff like that, I haven't seen it, so I apologize. But we do have more reviews coming in the future, so thank you very much on behalf of me and Mr. Smith. Stay bloody.